You're on the air with Florenza, your podcast destination for authentic conversations with a twist. So, grab your favorite drink, get comfy, and join me on this unique literary journey. Cheers! Joining us today is acclaimed author Daniel M. Jaffe to discuss his short story collection, Domestic Affairs, a bold, intimate look into the complexities of queer relationships, family, and belonging. Each story offers a raw, reflective lens on what it means to seek connection in a fragmented world. Please put your hands together and welcome Daniel to the show. Thank you so much, Daniel, for joining me. And before we even get to our toast, I want to tell you, you've kind of got that sexy Santa look going. I don't know. Is it December 25th yet? I don't know. I want to kind of sit on your lap and tell you it all.
Well, that's fine as long as you've been a good girl. So
Listen, honey, I'm a Gemini, define good. So
that's so cute.
now you're really getting all up in my business. You're getting all up in my business. So before we get started, because I have an inkling that we are going to have a lot of fun during this
Right.
interview. I don't know if it's that you're my fourth interview for today and this is my fourth
Mm.
class, or the fact that we're just going to have fun. But we're going to toast to an amazing show. And here you go. Cheers. And
Cheers.
that looks like that's a bluebird crystal glass. Is it? It looks like a bluebird
That's
crystal.
you know what it is? It's something that I inherited from older cousins who loved to travel the world, and they picked it up in Mexico, part of a complete set, and handmade stuff, beautiful stuff. And I was lucky that my cousin, their daughter, offered me, this set to keep as a memento of my
It
older
is
cousins.
beautiful. I was just
Thank you.
recently in parts of Mexico. I was in Cozumel and um Costa. Oh, which one was it? It'll come to me in a second. Anyway, we loved it so much we want to go back and look at land. So I better hurry up and remember
Ah,
where it was. So we're going to deep dive into your book, the one that we're talking about today, Domestic Affairs, Tales of American Males. And then we'll kind of chat about that. Okay.
hey,
Are you ready?
I'm ready.
You're such a brave man.
I trust you.
Nobody warned you. Hmm. Okay. So we're going to deep dive into your novel, Domestic Affairs. And talk to me a little bit about the title because it has a main title and subtitle. So the entire title is Domestic Affairs, Tales of American Males. Tell us about the project because it's not just a book, it's a series of is it a series of stories?
Yes, yes. It's a collection of short stories, and two things hold the collection together. One is domestic affairs, meaning the stories all take place in different locales throughout the United States. This is a companion book to a short story collection I had published previously, which was called Foreign Affairs,
Oh,
where each story was taking place outside the United States. So this one, one of the things holding it together, all the stories are in the US. And the other thing is they're all about men's experience. Within that, I should say there are two stories where the main characters are women, and the points of the stories are the effect of men on women.
oh wow.
So they are stories about men, or men's effect on women, and they all take place somewhere in the US.
Of the places where they occur, have you had a chance to actually visit the places or was it research related?
Yes, yes, yes. Visiting or living there. For example, the opening story takes place in Wilton Manors, Florida. Now, Wilton Manors is a little small community, just about 12,000 people nestled into Fort Lauderdale. sort of, if you think, picture Fort Lauderdale shaped like the letter C,
Uh-huh.
and Wilton Manor is like a little island filling the empty hole in the
In the
middle,
center. Okay.
in the center, yes. And the reason I was there is Wilton Manors is a gay refuge. It's like I think all the government people are gay, lesbian, bi, trans, and it's a big haven for older gay people in particular. So um, a few years ago, my husband and I were toying with, well, where would we like to retire eventually?
Uh-huh.
So I went to Wilton Manors. I have cousins in the area, and my husband is from Puerto Rico originally, so we thought Florida might be a convenient, place for him so he could visit his family.
Right.
So I went and I spent time visiting and getting to know the place. And I had a number of experiences that just stuck with me. And whenever I travel, I keep journals because heaven knows what I'll want to do with the material
Right,
later on.
right.
And I was meeting fascinating people. And so those people, they all became part of this first short story that takes place there. Another story takes place Yosemite National Park. My husband and I had vacation there and met some people, and a story idea came to me, that sort of thing. Others are from, like I mentioned earlier, I have written a story about my previous lawyerly life that was in Boston.
Okay.
So I have a story that's set there. So it's things like that, places I've either visited or lived. And what I try to do with each story is try to bring about something particular to the place so that each story really fits the locale,
Mm-hmm.
and not every story can work in another locale.
Yeah.
One of the characteristics about the book is I try different styles for different stories.
Okay.
So there's some that are traditionally realistic. There's one story that's surrealistic, sort of dreamlike in a way, and it goes between sort of reality and unreality. And because it crosses that border, I put it in the town of Texarkana, Texas.
Uh-huh.
Texarkana being a town that is half in Texas and half in Arkansas.
Yep.
Now, I have never been there, but my great aunt and great uncle lived there. And so I heard lots of stories about Texarkana. Their front yard was in one state and their backyard was in another. I
Nice.
don't remember which was which. But I did for that one, as you suggested, I did do research in addition,
Okay.
to fit the story there. But again, it's sort of the place, sort of an in-between place and in between realities for the story. So again, trying to fit the story to the locale.
What was that experience like crossing different genres and making them it, part of the story in that you weren't limited to just one genre, but you allowed the story to determine the genre?
Right. It was really quite liberating to realize that I don't have to fit everything into one. And when I don't know about you as a writer, when I start writing, I don't necessarily know where I'm going with the
Exactly.
story. Do you
Hmm.
find the same thing?
The same. Yes.
The same thing. So some stories, if I might start them realistically and then think, this just isn't working. And sometimes I just abandon the idea entirely. But at other times, I'm thinking, I think there's a way to make it work. Maybe if I'm not so literal
Yes.
about realistic things, then so one of the stories is very much a fairy tale, is the way I think of it. Another is a romance. Another is sort of sci-fi horror.
Ooh.
This is a fun one actually. This the
I
idea
know. I
for
like the way you were like, yes, this is
I don't usually write sci-fi or horror, but this it was during COVID. And we were all learning about it and horrified at how easily it was
yeah.
transmitted and so forth. And my husband, who's also a writer, came into my office one day and said, "Wouldn't it be awful? Here we are all on Zoom and Skype and everything. If COVID could spread virtually." Yeah, yeah. I reacted like you. You're like, "Oh my God, don't even say
Don't
it.
even
It's too
start. This is like our
horrifying."
safe space.
Right, right, right. So I started developing a story about, well, what would happen if it were transmitted by looking at one another through the internet?
Ooh.
And then thinking, okay, so I wanted this to be a male-focused collection and mostly gay male-focused collection. What if COVID continues for decades? So we're now into the future. Nobody can actually physically interact with anybody. So we can only meet online. And what if people were spreading it online? And then the government realizes it and starts tracking people down, who was chatting with whom, who might have spread it to whom. And then what happens when they find somebody who has a special immunity to it?
Ooh.
What will the government do to that person to save humanity?
Ooh.
And so I won't give away the answer, but I
Nice.
had great fun, and I'm so grateful to my husband for presenting that idea. And I asked his permission. I said, "Can I use it?" So,
Well,
and
that was
he
going to
said,
be
"Yeah,
my
yeah."
next question. Did he intend on actually doing anything with it, or was that his way of just
No,
kind of pawning it off to you to say, do what you will?
no. Initially it was just like it was just an idea he had. It's like, can you imagine if?
Yeah.
And then I said, "Oh, can I take that for a story?" And he said, "Go with it. I don't have any plan." So he
Now,
was very generous.
are you that person that anywhere you are, like all things are on limits, like nothing is off limits? If you hear a conversation or if you see something, or what do your friends think? Oh my gosh, you and your husband are writers. What do your friends say when they're around you guys? Are they like, please don't put us in a story?
I haven't heard that. I think because people close to me know I'm going to be respectful,
Okay.
and I really don't ever want to do that to anybody. That if I take something from somebody else's life, I completely transform it in such a way that it does not reflect that person. And I can give you a very specific example comes to mind. One of my oldest friends was a woman who lost her parents when she was very young, and she told me something that just really made me want to cry. That she would send herself birthday cards
Oh,
because she wouldn't get any from her parents. And that I found a heartbreaking idea. So, okay, so I wanted to do something with that. What I did was incorporate it into a short story where it was a birthday message written by a gay man to himself as if he were his mother
oh,
who has rejected him. So the birthday message, the whole story is, "Oh, my son, happy birthday. What a terrible person you are," and going on and on and on. And so he's sort of wrestling with his mother's attitude in his mother's voice, hurting himself in a way, but still having his mother, who no longer talks to him, send him birthday wishes.
wow.
So it was really transforming completely the experience that my friend had, but I wouldn't have had the idea had she not told me her own circumstance. So when I do take somebody else's conversation or life experience or something, I really change it so nobody, maybe not even the person who told me about it, would recognize it because I don't want to embarrass anybody at all.
That's such a respectful way of dealing with stories. What is the overall theme that you would like the reader to walk away having read Domestic Affairs or Foreign Affairs?
Well, that's very interesting. I don't know that there's one central theme, although if I had to think about it, I think for both, it's about the importance of certain values.
Mm,
It's not, the characters are all different in all the stories and so forth, but values of being sincere and earnest, and what happens if one is not, the importance of loving, and the underlying importance of being true to oneself
yeah.
and true to who one is. I think that comes very much from my own life experience, having had a very difficult time coming out as a gay man. I grew up in a very observant Jewish home. And as a teenager, I believed fervently in all the messages of the Hebrew Bible and the culture condemning
Yeah.
gay people for living their lives. And I thought that I was a sinner and so forth. So it took a very long time for me to move forward away from that way of thinking about myself and to be true to myself.
Mhm.
And I see my writing as very much a form of social activism, trying to give cultural expression to my world and my worldview. And for people who aren't interested, don't read it.
Yeah.
But for people who are, they should have it available and hopefully see themselves and hopefully see other ways of being. I think that's important. And then there's a whole different dimension as I have moved beyond my teens and I'm getting on
Just a
in
little
years,
bit.
just a little bit. Uh,
You know, gray
you
is in
find,
fashion right now. It's our time.
oh, I didn't know. Okay, now I feel even better. Um, what I really sought to do in domestic affairs in particular was highlight the experiences of older gay men
Mhm.
because we there is some fiction about that. There's not a whole lot. We have to remember we lost a generation of artists to AIDS.
Yeah.
So the generation preceding me, so before them, there was really not much representation in writing of gay
Yeah.
life at all. It just wasn't there. And then we had all these courageous people writing their experiences and so forth, and so many of them were stricken. So I feel a bit of a responsibility, as some of my other peers do, to convey that set of experiences of growing older as a gay man. And what does that mean? And for anybody, I think all of us who read about people who are older than ourselves, it's just another kind of example
Yeah.
of ways of being. And that's something that for gay people in particular, we lacked growing
Mhm.
up
Mhm.
examples, and we had to figure out things that we could figure out. But isn't it easier when you know that someone older has been through this and maybe can share some wisdom?
Yeah.
And, oh, here's an experience that really fills my philosophy, one of my philosophies of life, which is don't hide maybe some picadillos, little things that let people know that, you know, you may have stumbled so that when they stumble, they don't think it's something catastrophic. And the example was soon before, like a month before my father ended up passing away, we would chat every day on the phone. And one day he said to me, "Oh, well, you know that your great Uncle Joe in Jerusalem was gay." And it's like, what?
How
My
many
father
years
said,
did it take you to tell me this, Dad?
and I came out to my father when I was 21. So here I was like in my late 50s. And 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 my father said, "Oh, I thought you knew." I said, "How would I know if you never told me?" He said, "Everybody knew he wore fancy shoes." I said, "I never saw Uncle Joe's shoes." So I didn't have a clue. So I
Fancy
asked,
shoes, Uncle Joe. How was I
yeah,
supposed to know?
yeah. So I asked, I said, "Well, Dad, how was Grandpa?" This was my grandfather's brother, because I was always afraid that if my grandfather knew I were gay, he would shun me. He was so
Mm-hmm.
observant. I said, "How did Grandpa react?" And my father said, "Well, he wasn't happy about it, but at that time, in the Orthodox Jewish community, as long as you kept your private life private, nobody bothered you, nobody cared." And I thought, had I known that
Yeah.
as a teenager,
Yeah.
that I would not be shunned by the family,
Yes.
my inner angst would have been there, but it would have been much less.
Yes.
And I wouldn't have felt, if I come out, I'm going to lose my community, I'm going to lose my family. I wouldn't have felt that.
Yeah.
So that sort of reinforced my idea that it's very important to share things, even if they're not popular, about
Mm-hmm.
one's own life,
Mm-hmm.
so that people can see this person lived, he was a decent human being,
Yeah.
so maybe I do things other people don't like, but I'm basically a decent human being, so
Yeah.
maybe it's okay. So I try to cover all different kinds of experience in these stories. And, as a writer, fellow writer, there have to be problems.
Yes.
Otherwise, they're no interesting stories.
It's not interesting. What would younger Daniel say? Daniel, who thought he had to dot all the I's, cross all the T's, completely hide his most authentic self to fit into this perceived image. What would he think about the liberties and the freedom and the wings that you've developed now at this stage of your life?
That's a beautiful way of putting it, Florenza. Thank you. I think he would burst into tears
Oh,
at seeing that this is possible, and that he would be puzzled as to how to get from there to here.
hmm,
If I had a chance to talk to him, I would say, well, it won't be sudden
yeah.
and it won't be quick, and I'm not saying it's going to be easy,
Hmm.
but it is doable. And when I was a teenager, so we're talking back in the 1970s.
Hmm.
I remember thinking, well, I will just have to be alone my whole life because it's not acceptable. Two men can't be together. And I would tell him, well, my husband and I have been together over 31 years now.
Oh,
So, the unthinkable is thinkable,
uh-huh.
but it's not going to happen overnight,
Yeah.
you know.
And that
So
Uncle
I think,
Joe wore fancy shoes.
see, the way you say that, I should make that the title of a book. Uncle Joe wore fancy shoes.
You have to.
I love it.
Listen, younger Daniel and all Daniels need to know that Uncle Joe wore fancy shoes. Let's just tell everyone. Where are the listeners able to engage with you and just to stay connected with you and learn about other projects that you may have going on?
What my keep a website. It's danieljaffe.com. And I have a section there with news, like if I'm going to be doing a reading or participate at a conference or something like that. My various books are listed there where to purchase them if anyone's interested. I have little snippets of reviews and descriptions so people can see which book might be of interest. So that's it, danieljaffe.com. Thank you for asking.
Now, tell us a little bit about your middle name and the initial M and why that is so important to you.
Thank you. Yeah, that it really is. I actually don't have a middle name.
Oh,
My my parents gave me the middle initial M, um, with the hope that I would choose my mother's grandmother's maiden name. My mother was raised by her parents, but her mother had to work full time, so the day-to-day caring was by my mother's grandmother, who was an immigrant from Poland. And her last name was Mann, like Thomas Mann,
uh-huh,
Mann. No relation as far as we know.
uh-huh.
And 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 so but I when I was graduating high school, I wanted to surprise my mother. So when they asked for my name for the high school graduation program, I put Mann in there.
Oh,
And so it said Daniel Mann Jaffe. And so I was showing this to one of my mother's uncles, whose last name actually was Mann.
uh-huh.
And he said to me, "What is this? You're not a man," because that was maternal family, not paternal
Uh-huh.
last name. But of course, I was hearing two things.
You heard
I
two
was hearing, here I am
things.
feeling gay, and you're telling me I'm not a man. And secondly, you're telling me I'm not part of your family, even
Wow.
because I go through my mother's line. So that was the last time I used man as middle name. I was so angry. And it was never official, but so I never used it. However, my mother, when I started writing and publishing, my mother asked me to please always keep the M in my publishing name as a link to her family.
Oh,
And so I have always done that. And there are times like when works of mine have been in anthologies where there's an editor and then they send out the proofs and they very often would only have someone's first and last name. So whenever I've had the opportunity to mention it to them before publication, I would explain,
yes.
this and every editor, every single one includes the M, even though it violates their style,
Yeah.
because they understand that it's a connection and it's an honor, a way of honoring my mother.
What was your mother's response when she heard that you used the name man? Was it different than the uncle or?
Oh yes. Oh, she was overjoyed. Oh, she thought, what a wonderful surprise. How nice of you. What a sweet thing. I'm so glad. It's what I always was hoping for. And,
Oh,
and it's like, well, sorry, Ma, you go blame your uncle.
go get your uncle on that. Oh my gosh. So we've come to the part of our show that I call last call, or what do I call it? I don't know. I think I call it last call. Listen, it's been rebranded so many times. It's going to be last
Uh,
call today. And it is a series of um rapid fire questions that are just designed for you to not think too much, but just to give me the answer that comes to mind first. Are you ready?
I'm ready.
Okay, what's your favorite writing snack?
Snack? Peanuts.
Oh, that's a good one. Where do you prefer to write? What spot? What location?
At my office desk.
Okay,
Always, yeah.
wonderful. Your literary inspiration, who might that be?
There are many, but one I keep coming back to is John Steinbeck.
Mm,
There's something about his writing. I just love reading him.
yeah,
And his characters are always so alive. His language is so beautiful. So he's top of the list.
love that. What's a hidden talent that Daniel has that maybe only a few persons, your husband and such, might know about?
Well, when I was in high school, loved to sing, and I was, in the choir and doing musicals in high school and a little bit in college. And during college, when I would be by myself, I'd go into the music department, and they had rehearsal rooms, and I would go in there and close the door and fiddle with the piano and sing to my heart's content. I sometimes do that when I'm driving on a long drive or
Oh,
when I'm alone, but I only do it when I'm alone now. But it's something that I enjoy, and I don't know that anyone else will ever hear me, but I enjoy it.
that's sweet. Having traveled extensively as you have, what is your dream location that you would love to just travel to?
Well, I'd actually love to travel somewhere I haven't been. I would love to go to Thailand.
Oh,
I don't know if you've seen this series, The White Lotus. It's a new
it's on my
series.
list.
And it takes place on an island, and then I actually did some research and then saw that it's actually a real island, and it really is a gorgeous, gorgeous place. So that's one place that just pops instantly to mind, someplace very, very different than anything I've seen or experienced.
Wonderful. Well, thank you, Daniel. This has been so much fun.
Florenza, I had such a great time. I really appreciate you taking your time. Thank you so much.
Thank you.